Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. I hope you're all doing great, and welcome this early afternoon to a middle of the day market update. We're going to do a full update on the crypto markets. So as most of you know, but if you don't know, I'll tell you. We'll talk about some fundamentals, only the relevant ones, fundamentals that I think you need to know about. We'll talk about Bitcoin briefly. We'll talk about XRP briefly. We'll talk about Ethereum briefly, which is relevant for all altcoins outside of that as well. And then I will zoom into some altcoins outside of that. So very much the same recipe as always. I'll try to make it as valuable and as compact as I can. But for now, let's get right into it. Again, a little bit earlier than I used to post these. I will get back to the normal times later in the month, but for now, this is the way it is. I got some other outside of crypto business to attend. That's later in the day, so I cannot make all my videos in the time that I want to. But for now, let's get right into it. First of all, let's talk about some fundamentals. Fundamentals overall are good, and that's quite boring to say, but it is the truth, right? And there are some nuances which I do think you need to know about, particularly about altcoins. We'll get to that in a minute, but ultimately the S&P 500 right now is rallying up. This is futures, so this is pre-market, but that's nearing new highs right here. You can also see that we still have a healthy and strong Coinbase Bitcoin premium, so strong demand coming in, and the funding rate heat map is still very cooled down, right? There's brief moments where the funding rates are elevated, so that basically means that there's a lot of leverage in the markets. But if you compare this to, I'm not sure when the last time was when we had very high funding rates. Yeah, I mean, if you compare this to the 8th of December, which I'll show you real quick on Ethereum what happened then. But if you compare this to then, almost nothing is happening, right? So can I quickly see that the 8th of December... Yeah, so what we had back then, I think it was this actually. No, I mean, so if the funding rates are elevated, you're going to get price action like this. You're going to have big spikes down, but there's no risk of that right now, right? So at some point of time that will be true. For now, no. So ultimately the market looks great. Now there are some things that I think you need to know about. That signal to me that a pullback for altcoins is quite likely. Do I think it's fully confirmed? No, but I think when we're talking about the entire month of July, I think getting a pullback right now is most likely. First of all, if you take a look at others, which is this chart right here, you can see it's slowing down. We're no longer ramping up as much as we were. Volume is also slowing down, and we're getting some red candles. That's a sign of a loss of momentum, which introduces the probability of a pullback, which, by the way, on the higher time frames, and I made an altcoin update this morning, on the higher time frames, a pullback is not bad, all right? And it might actually be beneficial for longer-term sustained price action. And then what we see as well is that the Bitcoin dominance is at support. First real green candle since the 5th of July, but also a high time frame support. And we have fallen down a lot, which is another reason why, I think Bitcoin is going to be fine, but altcoins can actually pull back. And the market is getting increasingly more correlated. If the market gets correlated, if all coins start moving together, and the Bitcoin dominance has found support, that opens up the possibility for a pullback as well. So yes, I have taken quite a lot of profits, to be fully transparent with all of you. I've taken quite a lot of profits, sold quite a bit, not completely, all right? Because like I said, a pullback has not been confirmed. You still want exposure to the markets. You just want to be ready right now for a pullback. Earlier, I thought the probability of a pullback was low over the course of last week, but also in the weekend. Right now, it's higher. So be aware of that. That would be at least a pullback of about 12% across the board, right? So that could be 5% for your altcoin and 20% for mine. Could also be the other way around, right? So be prepared for that. But like I said, Bitcoin ultimately still looks fine. Bitcoin looks stable right here between 119.6 and 116.7. I would argue any big spike down, as long as it's not with the Third World War starting, is a buy opportunity for Bitcoin. When we're talking about XRP and Ethereum, those look stable as well. I think XRP especially looks quite stable. And I think Ethereum looks a little bit weaker, but as it stands right now, they're also still stable. I just think look, because they are still stable right now, I expect stability to continue. But the same thing, I mean, XRP and Ethereum, Bitcoin is looking better, but XRP and Ethereum are also losing some momentum. And if they're going to consolidate now, which seems more and more likely, right? What we're seeing right here, this is very different from what we saw before, right? So we're losing momentum. Usually when we lose momentum, a bit of a spike down, a liquidity grab down becomes more likely, right? So that's for Ethereum, that's for XRP. Be ready for that, right? But yeah, that's what I had on those. When we're talking about altcoins, look, like I said, a lot is correlated. So there's less coins that look interesting outside of the markets. Spark is still incredibly strong, which is crazy, but it's a very risky coin to trade. We actually bought this in the Signal group, which at this point of time we're up about 200%, which is ridiculous. I did not expect that, but great. But that still is gaining a lot of momentum. Would I buy right now? No, but with a deeper pullback, and then I would wait for a really deep pullback. It is a buy, because the project under this move is still great. It's a great project, but right now it's risky. I still think Conflux, which had a lot of momentum over the course of the weekend, is a buy. But again, with this, I would wait for a pullback, because we have just closed below this major resistance level at 18.3 cents. And then another one, which I thought was very interesting to highlight right here, especially when we get a pullback, is Curve. Curve had a massive breakout above this level right here at 80 and 75 cents. A lot of support there. If we're going to get a pullback, I think Curve is one of the projects that actually looks good to buy during that pullback, or when we hit the designated support zones. But that's it. There's a ton more altcoins that I could talk about, but I'm trying to keep this video compact, like I said. For now, that's what I think you need to know. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all in my next videos, and bye.